My channel, Glitchhound Alex, isn't massive, but it's my life. I have a dedicated community of a few thousand subscribers who share my obsession, digital archaeology. We dig up forgotten, broken, and sometimes cursed retro games. Usually, cursed just means a bizarrely difficult Japanese-only release or a game full of nightmare-fuel programming bugs. I'd never encountered a game that was cursed in the literal sense until The Cellar Dweller. I found the listing on a deep web forum I probably shouldn't have been on. The seller was anonymous. Their reputation score a cryptic series of ones and zeros. The description was minimalist and chilling. One copy, one player. The Cellar Dweller. Forgets nothing, sees everything. Price non-negotiable. The price was steep, enough to make my wallet scream, but the allure was too strong. This was the kind of white whale my channel was built for. A week later, a small, heavily taped box arrived. Inside, nestled in yellowed foam, was a generic gray SNES-style cartridge. No label, no art. Just the words "The Cellar Dweller" scratched into the plastic with what looked like a nail. It felt cold to the touch, unnaturally so. That night, I set up my stream. The soft purple and blue glow of my LED lights filled the room, reflecting off my monitors and the rows of game boxes on the shelves behind me. It was my sanctuary. "What is up, my glitch hounds?" I began, holding the cartridge up to the webcam. "Tonight, we have something special, something from the dark, dusty corners of the internet. This is The Cellar Dweller." My chat buzzed with excitement. I slotted the cartridge into my old console, hit the power button, and the screen flickered to life. There was no flashy title screen, no company logo, just black with the same crude white text, "The Cellar Dweller." Below it, a single option, "New Game." The music was a low, 8-bit drone, a repetitive, melancholic loop that immediately set my teeth on edge. I started the game. The graphics were rudimentary. I was controlling a small, pixelated character in a blue shirt, standing at the top of a stone staircase. The objective seemed simple: descend into the cellar. Each level was a single screen, a maze of stone walls, wooden crates, and locked doors. The only sound was the droning music and the soft, repetitive plink, plink, plink of water dripping somewhere off-screen. Okay, spooky vibes activated. I narrated for the stream. "Our little guy here looks like he's about to have a very bad day. Let's see what's in this first room." For the first half hour, it was standard, if unsettling, retro fare. I guided my character, whom the chat had lovingly named Blue Shirt Bob, through the first few levels, solving simple puzzles, finding keys. But the atmosphere was relentlessly oppressive. The droning music never changed, and the dripping sound was starting to get under my skin. That's when the first weird thing happened. In the game, Bob needed a brass key to open a large, iron-banded door. The key was hidden behind a stack of barrels. As I moved the last barrel, the game emitted a loud, metallic clang. A split second later, I heard the exact same sound from my kitchen. I paused, pulling off my headphones. "Did you guys hear that?" I asked the chat. The comments flooded in. "Heard it. Zrania, Yep, WTF was that. Probably just your cat, Alex. I don't have a cat, I said, a nervous laugh escaping my lips. I got up and walked to my kitchen. The room was dark and empty. Nothing was out of place. I checked the sink, the counters, nothing. I shook my head, blaming it on tired ears and power of suggestion. I returned to my chair and put my headphones back on. I guided Bob to the door and used the key. The door creaked open, leading to another darker staircase. As Bob descended, the lights in my apartment flickered in perfect sync with his on-screen steps, one flicker for each step down. Okay, no, I said, my voice wavering. That's not a coincidence. My chat was exploding. This is scripted, right? Zrenya, no way. Alex, this is freaking me out. It's not scripted, I assured them, though I was trying to assure myself. It must be some weird feedback loop with the power draw from the console. It was a weak explanation, and I knew it. I pushed on, my heart now a frantic drum against my ribs. The game was getting stranger. The puzzles were becoming less logical and more personal. In one room, I had to arrange a series of pixelated books on a shelf. The pattern, I realized with a jolt of cold fear, was the same as a small stack of graphic novels on my own shelf right behind me. I turned to look, and they were exactly as I'd left them, but the implication was terrifying. The game knew my room. Then came the new sound. Mixed in with the drone and the dripping, a new noise started, faint at first. It was a low, wet, chittering sound. It was the noise the game made whenever a shadow passed across an unlit corner of the screen. The game's unseen antagonist, the cellar dweller. I finally saw it on level 7. I entered a long, flooded hallway. At the far end, partially obscured by the 8-bit darkness, a figure stood. It was taller than my character, stick-thin, and pitch black, like a hole burned into the game's code. It didn't move. It just watched. The chittering sound grew louder in my headphones. There it is, I whispered. The Dweller. As I said its name, my main monitor, the one with the game on it, went black for a second. When it came back, the Dweller was gone, but the chittering sound didn't stop. It was no longer coming from my headphones. It was in the room with me, a soft, guttural clicking coming from the darkest corner of my apartment, behind my armchair. I ripped my headphones off, my whole body trembling. The chat was a torrent of panicked messages, but I couldn't read them. My eyes were locked on that corner. I could see nothing but shadow, but I could feel it. A presence, a weight in the air that wasn't there before. The dripping sound started again, not from the game, from my bathroom. Plink, plink, plink. Slow, deliberate. I'm ending the stream, I stammered, my hand shaking as I reached for my mouse. But as my cursor hovered over the end stream button, my character on the game screen, Blue Shirt Bob, shook his head. A simple, one-frame animation. A pixelated no. I froze, my blood turning to ice. The game wasn't just mirroring my environment. It was now trying to control my actions. I tried to click the button anyway, but my hand wouldn't obey. It felt like a powerful magnet was holding it in place, millimeters from the mouse. Panic pure and primal, seized me. I was trapped, forced to play. My gaze snapped back to the game. On the screen, a new door had appeared. It was a simple, white wooden door. It looked exactly like my bedroom door. The game wanted me to go through it. In the real world, my actual bedroom door, which I always kept ajar, slowly creaked shut with a soft, final click. The chittering from the corner of the room was louder now, closer. I didn't dare turn to look. My focus was on the screen, a tiny digital prison that was rapidly becoming my reality. With no other choice, my trembling fingers guided Bob towards the pixelated white door. As he touched it, the game screen flashed with a single, jarring word: look. Forced by some unseen power, my head swiveled away from the monitor to the corner of my room. The shadow there was no longer just a shadow. It was coalescing, pulling the darkness towards it, giving it form. It was tall, impossibly thin, its limbs disjointed and moving with a nauseating, stuttering motion like a corrupted video file. It had no face, just a smooth, dark void, but I could feel its gaze on me. The chittering sound was emanating directly from it, a sound of ancient hunger and digital decay. It took a single, lurching step towards me. On the screen, the dweller appeared behind blue shirt Bob, cornering him. The text box appeared again, nowhere to run. My apartment's main power cut out. Everything went black, except for the hellish glow of the game monitor. The emergency lights on my streaming hardware cast long, dancing shadows. The chittering was right behind my chair. I could feel a cold, static-filled breath on the back of my neck. My body was locked in place, but my mind was screaming. This was how it ended. Killed by a ghost in the machine, a digital parasite that had crossed over. The entity's long, glitching fingers reached down, about to touch my shoulder. The game screen flashed one last time, not with text, but with an image. It was a pixelated representation of my face, contorted in terror. And then, a final message, the one that broke me. Swap complete. A blinding white light erupted from the monitor, engulfing me, the room, everything. There was a sound like a dial-up modem, screaming and tearing itself apart, a feeling of being ripped apart and recompiled bit by bit. And then, silence. I blinked. I was sitting in my chair. The sun was starting to filter through my blinds, casting gentle morning light across the room. The power was on. My monitors were off. The console was silent. The oppressive atmosphere was gone. Was it a dream? A hallucination brought on by stress and sleep deprivation? I let out a shaky breath, a laugh bubbling in my chest. Of course, it was all in my head. I had psyched myself out. I stood up, stretching my stiff limbs. My first order of business was to take that cursed cartridge and smash it into 1,000 pieces with a hammer. I looked at my desk, at my streaming setup, and a wave of relief washed over me. It was over. Then I tried to take a step, and I couldn't. My feet felt rooted to the spot. I tried to lift my hand to my face, but it wouldn't move. It was resting on the keyboard, and it wouldn't budge. A new kind of fear, cold and profound, began to creep back in. I wasn't paralyzed. I felt anchored. I looked down at my hands. They seemed fuzzy, indistinct around the edges. I tried to scream, but the only sound that came out was a faint, low-fidelity buzz, a digital chitter. My eyes darted to the main monitor. It was off, a black mirror, and in its reflection, I saw my room, my desk, my chair. But the person sitting in the chair wasn't me. It was the cellar dweller. The tall, shadowy, faceless thing was sitting where I had been sitting, its long, glitching fingers resting on my mouse. It tilted its head, that blank void of a face seeming to look right through the reflection, right at me. And then I finally understood the swap. My perspective lurched. I was no longer looking at the monitor. I was looking out of it. My room, my safe, familiar room, was now a flat 2D image in front of me. I looked down. I saw blue pixelated arms, a blue pixelated shirt. I was Blue Shirt Bob. I was on the screen. The monitor flickered to life, not with my face, but with the game's title screen, The Cellar Dweller. In the bottom corner, where the game always showed you your character, my little sprite stood, vibrating with a terror I could feel in every one of my 8-bit particles. I was trapped behind the glass. In my apartment, in my chair, the entity that used to be the cellar dweller flexed my fingers. It leaned forward, and its new hands, my hands, began to type. I could see the reflection of a web browser opening on a second monitor. It navigated to a familiar, dark-themed forum. I watched, helpless, as it created a new post. The title was simple, For Sale, and in the description, it typed out the words I knew so well, the words that had started my own nightmare, a sales pitch to its next victim. One copy, one player, excellent condition, forgets nothing, sees everything, looking for a new home.
We hope you enjoyed it. If you liked this video, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.